On the news at 1, Nigeria delegation in Brazil woo investors for livestock sector. FCT police warns against rumored attack of tax force. And FCT Women Affairs Secretariat intensifies campaign against gender-based violence. This is the news at 1 on NTA Channel 5, Abuja. I am Mariam George Jitubo. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, is engaging information commissioners who are members of the All Progressives Congress to strengthen their communication capabilities as ambassadors of renewed hope policies in the states. The Conference for Commissioners of Information, put together by the Progressive Governors Forum, holding in Mina, Niger State, is a platform for the engagement. Salihu Abdullahi Wanara reports.
The federal and state governments might have different policies and programs. The bond here is for the country's #1 spokesman to compare notes with those with similar responsibilities at the subnational government, equip them with more facts and figures about the successes of the Renewed Hope 8-point agenda that is on a steady move into the second half of its first-term mandate.
Let me say that as at this morning, over 600,000 applications have been received by NELFON, the Nigeria Education Loan Fund. Over 300,000 of them, over 360,000 of them, as of today, are benefiting from this novel initiative of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Government has committed over 70 billion naira to this project. What it means is that all these people, over 300,000 of them, who are benefiting from this program, are not just going back to school, they are also returning school because their tuition fee is being paid by this administration, and they are also giving them money as pocket money, as you know, for them to continue to be in school. This is unprecedented and the first time that this has ever happened in our country.
He acknowledged that some of the early policy decisions by President Bola Tinubu are responsible for the actualization of the all-round development in Nigeria.
You are in the forefront as information managers and those who have the responsibility of interfacing with the people at the grassroots. You must go back home with renewed energy, armed with facts, stories, and strategies to effectively mobilize your people to take full advantage of the promise of the renewed hope.
Representatives of the state governments have pledged to be dependable ambassadors of the renewed hope to sustain positive transformation.
In our present context, governance is not only measured by policies enacted or infrastructures built, but by how effectively those actions are conveyed to the people we serve.
A key highlight of our engagement is the proposed federal government PGF media policy and strategy synergy, a groundbreaking framework designed to institutionalize media alignment between the Federal Ministry of Information and the 23 APC-governed states.
The theme of this meeting, strategic communication and policy alignment, is timely and critical as we navigate an era that demands clarity of purpose.
The commissioners for information are expected to return to their states with more knowledge about government policies that will boost their communication prowess. In Mina, the Niger State capital, Salihu Abdullahi Wanara, NTA News.
In continuation of its quest to attract investors for the livestock sector, a Nigerian delegation has visited one of the cattle ranches of the world's biggest beef producer, JBS Group, for sightseeing. State House correspondent Musbaud Anwahab reports that the delegation, deployed by President Bola Tinubu, said they are inspired and expressed the belief that the project is a possibility in Nigeria with the commitment of the current administration.
Beyond series of conference room discussions, this is another delegation to ascertain seriousness of a potential partnership. From the area view, the delegation, including governors of Ogun, Niger, and Benue states, had a sense of what to come.
Bago, you get work, you get serious work.
Touching ground on the J&F farm, a subsidiary of JBS Group located on the Araguaia Valley near Brasilia, the reality dawned on the delegation.
Look at this cow, they be like elephant too.
Sitting on 3,000 hectares of land in Aruana, this is not just a farmland but a colony of cattle, and not just a business but an economy of its own.
How the cattle is tagged individually, and we control everything through the tag. How many kilos they convert, how many days they are in the yard, about the health and the protocols, the vaccines, everything.
With majority of Nelore and a crossbreed of Angus and Nelore, about 95,000 cattle bred at a different location are brought here for proper feeding for 120 days.
It's 3 rounds because it's 120 days on feed. Go another group of cattle 120 days. Go and another 120. So you turn 3 eyes. So not 94,000 head of cattle times 3 eyes. So it's going to be about almost 300, 260, 250,000 head of cattle.
Under pivot irrigation system, crops are grown on the farm to replenish the silages of feed for the cattle.
It's not just the corn, it's
The leaves and everything.
yeah.
In operation with progression spanning over 20 years, the company now has a record of global biggest exporter of beef.
This cattle here go to one of the largest beef plants that we operate here in Brazil, that is 60 kilometers from here, and we export this meat to everywhere. We export to Europe, we export to China, to South America, to the Middle East, to many different countries.
Is a demonstration of what the Fulani people are doing. They can be put here, food will be brought to them, and they are fattened and sold. And this is a cycle of 120 days. So you have 3 cycles in a year. The ecosystem is huge because you're going to be cropping corn, you're going to be cropping sorghum, you're going to be cropping sugarcane, grasses.
This is inspiring. It is inspiring. Game changer. This is where we need to be.
So it's going to change the entire ecosystem of our herdsmen. It's going to do away with prices,
Insecurity.
Security because of farmer-herder crisis. If you're able to have this ranching and have cattle in a controlled environment, it takes care of so many different things. It brings employment to our youth, as we know, industrialization, food security, because if we're able to produce all this protein, even a foreign exchange earner.
And now, with discussions between the company and the Nigerian government in final stages, the delegation leaves the Araguaia Valley with a renewed hope of the possibility of replicating these achievements in Nigeria. And until then, the cowboys say goodbye. In Aruana, Brazil, Musbau, Nanwahab, NC News.
And back here in Nigeria, more job opportunities will be unveiled in just a matter of days to unemployed youths in Nigeria as the federal government is set to launch the second phase of the Renewed Hope Employment Initiative. Director General of the National Directorate of Employment, Silas Agara, who made this known during a brainstorming session with coordinators of program across Nigeria in Abuja, says a minimum of 21,000 job opportunities is the target in the next stage. Joseph Austin reports.
Provision of entrepreneurship skills and empowerment of the beneficiaries are major components of the foundation the federal government is laying to make thousands of young Nigerians self-reliant and employers of labor themselves. after the first phase of the Renew Hope Employment Initiative. Not less than 36,000 benefited, including women and persons with disabilities.
In Ondo State, I think we empower close to 1,000 people. Some were given equipment worth about 500,000.
We have over 300 businesses emanating from that first phase.
Despite adjudging the first phase as huge success, the National Directorate of Employment says it has taken steps to correct few obstacles experienced during the first phase, mostly associated with payment of stipends to beneficiaries and proximity of training centers for seamless exercise in the next stage.
A lot of links were being circulated as NDE links, while we are not aware of some of those links. And so we are going to be giving you password on daily basis to enable you log in and assist beneficiaries that will be having challenges key into the system. It is your responsibility to recruit beneficiaries at the state level.
NDE says it is going fully digital with the second phase, and this engagement will enable the coordinators to adopt a take-off time as they examine innovations, especially a newly developed portal accommodating registration, selection, various skills, training, and empowerment processes, among other features, for a seamless exercise. In Abuja, Joseph Oten, NTA News.
The FCT Police Command says it has received a voice note circulating on social media alleging a group of commercial motorcyclists known as Okada riders with plans to stage violent attack against task force officials operating within the Kubwa axis of the FCT today, Friday. A statement signed by the command's public relations officer, Josephine Ade, said such conduct amounts to criminality and will be met with the full weight of the law. The statement hinted that any person or group involved in planning, instigating, or contemplating carrying out such form of violent protest or attack on any law enforcement official under any guise is sternly warned to immediately abort such plans. It warned that the FCT Police Command will not hesitate to deploy all lawful means, including arrest, prosecution, and necessary force to deal decisively with perpetrators of public disorder. The statement advised that residents may observe increased deployment of police personnel and operational assets in and around the Kubwa axis as a proactive measure strictly aimed at preventing any breach of peace and should not be misconstrued by law-abiding citizens. To mitigate flooding, effectively manage Nigeria and Africa's wetlands and flood-prone areas, the Global Monitoring for Environment and Security and Africa, in partnership with relevant stakeholders, organized a community of practice workshop. Moses Kuye reports that the workshop united representatives and practitioners from various agencies and pledged to develop a comprehensive Earth observation database.
The impacts of climate change, marked by rising floods and disappearing wetlands, continue to challenge communities across Africa. In response, the GMES and Africa Program, an initiative of the African Union Commission, convened a multi-day community of practice workshop in Nigeria.
Many disasters goes unreported because the urban areas are what we focus on. But I can tell you, we have enough data analysts, experts, that can actually get out of this.
The workshop provided a platform for stakeholders across environmental disaster and water management sectors to share data-driven approaches, policy experiences, and community-centered innovations using Earth observation technology.
This is what we want to see, collaborations between academia, private sector, and government. We are useless in the government if we don't have accurate data to act on, including predictive, futuristic, and real-time.
We use this geospatial tool to collect information from areas inaccessible that you cannot go. And even those areas you can go, collect this data that you can now use comfortably to carry out your research and analysis.
A highlight of the event was a hackathon competition that drew participants from across Africa. Teams of young developers and innovators were tasked with designing solutions using Earth observation data for flood forecasting, wetland restoration, early warning systems, and resilience planning.
Here is about experts in a specific thematic who are computing to show their knowledge and how they can use, in this case, the remote sensing informations, or let's say the Earth observation data, in order to develop product and services and applications.
At the close of the workshop, a communique was issued outlining key resolutions and next steps for regional collaborations and implementation. Among the outcomes was the formal election of a new executive committee for the community of practice.
Without space technology, using Earth observation data, we can actually pinpoint where damages are done, who to help, rescue, or what's kind of, for example, wetlands. Which wetland is polluted? At what extent? How do you measure this impact? These are the reasons why.
The GMES Africa Community of Practice stands as a model for collaborative climate action, blending data innovation with local relevance for a more resilient Africa. In Abuja, Moses Kuye, NTA News.
You're watching the news at 1 on NTA Channel 5, Abuja. We'll be back after this message. Do stay.
Drive jeje sake of say life no get photocopy o. Drive jeje na the ogbonge road safety program wey dey show for NTA Channel 5 Abuja to teach country people on how to drive jejely for road. Country people, make una join the only driver wey dey drive for television, Odiriogboru Arutere, for Drive Jeje every Friday 11:30 a.m. for NTA Channel 5 Abuja. For sponsorship and advert, gree us with 08035368023 plus 09055552223. Drive jeje because life na jeje.
Good to know you're there. Now, the Federal Capital Territory Administration, through the Women Affairs Secretariat, is intensifying sensitization campaigns against gender-based violence, early marriage, and gender discrimination to protect and empower women in rural communities. At a community outreach in Abuja, wives of traditional rulers in the FCT gathered to educate grassroots women on the dangers of abuse and value of girl-child education and the importance of knowing their rights.
In a bid to combat the rising tide of gender-based violence and other harmful practices affecting women and girls, the Federal Capital Territory Administration is intensifying its advocacy efforts across rural communities. The latest sensitization outreach took place in the Abuja Area Council, where the wives of traditional rulers, in partnership with the FCT Women Affairs Secretariat, led a multi-stakeholders dialogue focus on community-driven solutions to early marriage, gender discrimination, and poor access to education for the girl child. The president of Traditional Rulers Wives Association, Hajia Hawa Ibrahim Adamu, emphasized the importance of taking the campaign to grassroots, stating that when women are educated, the entire family is empowered, adding that women must not remain silent in the face of abuse.
They can't defend themselves. So when this thing is committed, the perpetrators just go about the whole place, moving around as if nothing happened. And you see the victim becomes victimized. There, the trauma, the psychological trauma is long.
Together we can create a world where gender-based violence and girl-child early marriage is no longer tolerated. Join me please in saying enough is enough. Can we please raise our voice? Enough is enough.
The charity begins at home. The women need to even see their household. Let it begin from the household. Educate your child in the home.
honor of Abaji, His Royal Majesty Baba Yunisa Adamu commended the initiative and called on traditional rulers to use their platforms to eliminate social practices that silence and endanger women and girls.
What they need awareness. They are not aware. So people that if their wife asks them that where is food, they started fighting. Poverty, and most of the problem that we have, even their voice for this our area is poverty.
Dr. Adedayo Benjamin Lani, Mandate Secretary of the FCT Women Affairs Secretariat, reaffirmed the administration's commitment to aggressive sensitization campaigns across the 6 area councils under the framework of Renewed Hope agenda of the Federal Capital Territory.
Traditional justice is about wisdom. Wisdom that are not just about rights of traditional action, but wisdom informing everyday lifestyle.
Religious leaders, women leaders, youth advocates, persons with disabilities, and representatives of the justice sector who attended the event agree that with a united front from traditional institutions, government, stakeholders, and the women themselves, the fight against gender-based violence is no longer a distant call. Hawegimba, NTA News.
Let's now join the business desk for updates.
It's time for business news and talking recapitalization. 5 banks hit CBN target ahead of deadline. Welcome, I'm Hakimat Aliu Ibrahim. The Naira closed trading at $1,529.22 at the official Nigerian Foreign Exchange Market window on Tuesday. According to data on the Central Bank of Nigeria's website, Tuesday's closing was weaker than $1,528.33 from Monday. This marginal weakness comes on the heels of the resumption of international transactions on their Naira cards. Days ago, some banks, including United Bank of Africa, Wema Bank, GT Bank, and First Bank, announced. And as at the end of the first half of 2025, at least 5 banks have met the new capital thresholds issued by the Central Bank of Nigeria. They include Access Bank, Zenith Bank, Eco Bank Nigeria, Lotus Bank, the Jais Bank in March 2024. In March 2024, the CBN directed commercial banks with international authorization to increase their capital base to 500 billion naira and the national banks to 200 billion naira, while those with regional authorization are expected to achieve a 50 billion naira capital floor. Similarly, non-interest banks with national and regional authorizations will need to increase their capital to 20 billion naira and 10 billion naira respectively. The federal government has reiterated its commitment to setting the power sector on the path of sustainability by prioritizing the different reforms being undertaken in the industry. This, it said, is critical to the economic growth and development of the nation. The Minister of Power, Chief Adebayo Adelabu, disclosed this during the week at the Mission 300 Stakeholders Engagement Meeting in Abuja, where he announced that the estimated investment required for the Mission 300 Compact is $32.8 billion, with $15.5 billion expected from the private sector. And now to our locally sourced story. Financial experts say without basic financial knowledge, people are more vulnerable to fraud, poor investment decisions. Deborah Gazaji-Maika in this report examines the consequences of non-financial literacy.
The Central Bank of Nigeria estimates that only 38% of Nigerian adults are financially literate. The Apex Bank attributed the problem to absence of structured financial education, which leave many young people unprepared to make informed financial decisions. The challenge in achieving widespread financial awareness is limited access to quality education, socioeconomic disparities, and a lack of structured financial literacy programs, according to a cross-section of Nigerians.
Most of the problems we have had in businesses is as a result of the fact that we didn't have financial literacy.
Even among the women who used to be better financial managers is dropping, and so the men are taking over. So we are at a point where we cannot say it's now the women or the men. We know that everybody right now needs financial literacy.
Financial literacy is just having a mindset and believing you can do it. That is actually the first thing. If you believe you can do it, every other thing will fall under.
And that's about the size of our package this week. The news continues shortly.
Let's see what is trending in the sports world.
Nigeria Super Falcons are through to the quarterfinals of the Women Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco. Nigeria pipped the Zebras of Botswana 1-0, making it their second victory in Group B, amassing 6 points to top the group, even as they await their last group game against second-placed Algeria on Sunday. Meanwhile, 4 teams, Barrow FC, Wiki Tourist, Kun Khalifat FC and Warri Wolves have secured promotion to the 2025-2026 Nigerian Premier Football League (NPFL) upon the conclusion of the Nigerian National League NNL Super 8 playoffs in Ozuru and Asaba. Wiki Tourist of Bauchi and Warri Wolves are returning to the Nigerian top flight football after years of being in the second division. The newly promoted teams are expected to compete with new ambition and tackles. Talking basketball, the National Sports Commission has thrown its weight behind Nigeria's under-19 women's basketball team, Junior D Tigers, who have arrived Brno, Czech Republic, to begin their campaign at the FIBA Under-19 Women's World Cup, scheduled for 12 to 20 July 2025. Drawn in Group B, Nigeria will face China this Saturday before taking on Canada on Sunday and Portugal on Tuesday. DG National Sports Commission urges the team to use the 16th edition of the tournament to compete for honors. With Sports Brief, Abdullahi Ajia, NTA News.
Thank you for staying with us on the news at 1. Do join us at 7 for more. I am Mariam George Jitubo.